Hello, welcome to an overview of a challenge that I've just built. This challenge is about using React server-side rendering so that you can primarily use React and Redux, render code HTML on the server side, send it down to your client side. It touches on a bunch of other technologies such as NightmareJS, which I'm using for end-to-end testing. It's got a bunch, I'm using Create React app, so that's going to be something new if you haven't seen it before. And this is going to be a quick demo of just what the video is, or what the challenge is, and how it's all set up. And then after this, there'll be a companion video, which is coding up a sample solution. So you can see it here on Joshua Weil, server-side rendered React challenge. And it's got yarn going for the setup. Now the challenge is basically, let's jump over to this. And we'll see that it is a Create React app. So if you haven't seen Create React app, then it's a fairly common package here. And their whole philosophy is zero configuration setup. So type in Create React app and your name, and it sets up a React app, and you don't have to do anything with Webpack, nothing with Babel. It's just set up with fairly opinionated, but good opinions of things to do. So I was playing around to build this challenge here. And one of the things you'll notice in a Create React app is that, let's just open this up, and let's go into our package.json. Usually, the dependencies and the scripts and the dev dependencies, they're empty in a Create React app. It will really just have your React scripts down here. This is one of the ones that you include. And then down here, it's got a bunch of like your dev and your build and your test. These are all done by Create React app. And if you ever want to stop using it, you type npm run eject. And then that will essentially take all of the Webpack and all the config and dump it into your app, and it's a one-way exit out of Create React app land. So it hides all of the Webpack and all the things from it. In this app, I had to go and put a bunch of Webpack back in, so it wasn't a really good fit. But because of the way I wanted to be bundling things, I had to actually put Webpack back in and Babel back in. So I didn't get the full benefit of it, but it was really good playing with it, and I encourage you to check it out and have a look at it. It's got some pretty good docs here, and it's got a really big user guide. So yes, there's a lot going on, but it can make it a ton simpler once you get your head around how to do it. And so here, now I turned the Create React build just to this one here, and that's now on dev. If I go yarn dev here, this is going to fire up this app. This is using Webpack Dev Server. So this will fire up Webpack Dev Server for us, and it's got good configs and hot reloading. And now, this goes. All right, so I basically built a task list because I'm very original. And this task list doesn't do anything. It just lets you delete tasks. I can't add them yet. I can't edit them. It's just a very simple, small task list manager. But that's enough to really play out with the core technology. If we get another window here, and I type yarn test, all the testing is done with Jest, which is what Create React app is set up with. And it's got a nice watch going. So if you press A, it'll run all the tests for you. If you press O, it's going to run just the tests that have changed since the last commit. And you can also test, write some regular expressions to run just the test which matches a file name or a test name. So I found that's quite a useful way of testing. And in here, so that's the tests that are going. So if we have a look at this and I hit Paul, then I've got a task list test, I've got an app test, I've also got a server test. So let's jump down to the source. And here we've got a React Redux app. So my IndexJS, we've got React DOM, we're rendering something. It's using CSS modules, which is a good way of requiring in the CSS on a per component basis. I'm getting the app, I'm getting the store for Redux. This is a caching thing which comes in with Create React app. Don't worry about that too much for now, but it's good to look into. And here I'm just rendering the app with a provider, so a standard sort of Redux setup. Go into components, we'll see there's an app.js. You'll see a test file is next to app.js. This is a Jest convention, which a lot of people follow. And here we've got the app. It's just got a task list inside of it. In my task list component, a bit more, it's a connected component, But see how there's two exports in this component. So the default is the connected component, but the non-default is just the regular unconnected component here. And that means that in my test, I'm not actually testing the connected component, I'm just testing the vanilla component. So down here, when I want to import the task list, I'm doing that inside a deconstructor, so that that is getting me the non-default export. Whereas if we go and have a look at the app component, here I'm getting task list, which is a default one. So subtle differences, but this is a connected one and this is the vanilla one. So that's a pattern I followed in this challenge. Welcome to play with it, see if you like the pattern or not. And then down here, so it's really just, here's a task list, here's each task, here's the button. When you click on it, it deletes it, and there's a few tests to make sure that task list does what it says it does. So if we look at the task list test, it renders a list of tasks, and when you remove when you click the remove button, it removes one of them. So here it's just testing that the remove function is called, and I'm relying on Nightmare, which is my end-to-end testing, to really do the main testing of the connected Redux scripts. So that's the React components here. The Redux is pretty simple. We've got a combine reducers, and then down here, we have also got a task reducer. It's really just got a remove task from it, and I'm just removing it by index in an array, so nothing too revolutionary. And here's a simple test to say, hey, if you remove one, does it move to this? So simple reducers, and that's pretty much the app. And what we're going to try and do is take this app and we're going to render it server-side. So if we go and have a look at the README, it's got a bit of stuff about the setup. Now the first mission is we want to return the HTML of React. So when we go visit the server, so right now, if you go up here and do npm yarn dev like with that, instead of that, if we go and run this for a bit, so we're going to go npm yarn start. Now this is going to be a different script. This is the stuff that didn't come with Create React App, which I put together for you. And then this is going to say npm run all is a nice way of doing Webback and NodeMon in the same go. And so I'm running two things in parallel. One of them is NodeMon, and that's basically just running an Express server. And then the other one is running Webback to give us a bundle.js. So I basically diverged from the way Create React App does things to have a little sample environment just for us to play with as we do the server-side rendering. So now that's the server there. Now if we go visit localhost 3000 this time, now it's going to be, hey, I want you to send back React code. So here, this has got inside of make server folder, it's got a server.js, there's not much going on here. And then I've got a server test, and this is where we've got Nightmare going. So I hadn't used Nightmare before this app, quite like it. And essentially it is a browser automation library which uses Electron to create a browser, and you drive it with JavaScript. So you can basically give it commands such as, please go to this URL, and please just get the HTML for me. Or can you go and click on this button and then see if something different has happened? So it's a pretty good way of driving it end-to-end by faking a browser, hitting your app with it, and testing that it behaves the way you want. So very much outside in end-to-end testing. And here I've just got a, I'm starting a server on this port, I'm closing the server after each run, and then down here, see these? I've got these skips on these tests here, and that is because when we go to finish this challenge, what we're doing is, hey, uncomment the first skip test and see if you can get it passing. And then that's the first step. The second one is, don't just send me back the HTML from React, actually send back the code and make sure React is still functioning, so that here we can start to see that the delete button still works. Now, these are the first two skip tests. After this, I haven't written tests, so you get to write your own. What I want to do now is shuffle the tasks on the server. So we're sending back the tasks. I want them in different order each time. And there's a nice shuffle function, which I stole from Stack Overflow. Then I dropped it into utils. So you can use this shuffle function to shuffle the tasks in the array. And the reason we do this step is to make sure that every time you load up React from the server-side rendered code, that you're listening to the Redux state, and you're actually using that to pre-populate your client-side Redux state. So that's what the shuffling is there to make sure that you're doing. Then we're going to just do a simple task, which is like, hey, let's create a task in React. But now what we want to do is when you save a task, I want to send a copy of the state back to the server so that the server always has a version of the state that I just had on my client side. So if I ever refresh the page, I'm back where I was and I haven't lost my work. And then down here, there's some security stuff you need to know about. The final thing is make sure your app's secure. And here's a bunch of resources to get it doing, to get through it. So that's the challenge. Hope you like it. And yeah, feel free to give it a crack and then check out your work against the sample solution I'll put together, or you can jump in and follow the sample solution first before diving in. So enjoy.